everyone. Um, I can't see myself since I'm recording myself with this camera. I hope that I'm getting myself on camera. So since I rather ramble on in my mind at least, I thought I would go ahead and record this one since why not? But I'll show you here. So I'm a little bit cranky about what I'm having to do here, and it's really it's got my knickers in a bunch. Let's just put it that way. Um, I'm not happy at all. So this is very much going to be a talking head. And the reason I'm posting this like it is, it's like, why am I looking at artwork? Well, that's because that's what I'm doing right now. And most of the time when I have stuff like this going through my head, when I'm complaining and griping and whatnot like that, I don't I don't have the option of recording myself because I'm busy scrubbing the dishes. That's basically all I ever do is scrub the dishes. And when I'm not scrubbing the dishes, I'm, you know, f- folding the laundry, putting the laundry away, I'm scrubbing the countertops, I'm, taking care of this, I'm taking care of that, I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, I'm doing things that, it's not like if I could have, I would have already strapped like a microphone and a GoPro camera to myself and just recorded myself, just do like a little, you can see my perspective kind of thing, but it would be a podcast like this is. Um, and I already would have, come hang out with me, done a kind of like, a day in my life sort of podcast thing already. But since I don't have the ability to do that, I don't have any money to get a GoPro camera, and I absolutely do not have the money to, stick a mic lapel on myself and record my audio and my gripings as I go about my day, you know. So, yeah. But I thought I would go ahead and record this since this was going through my head. And this is an annoyance that has bothered me. And I realized, you know what? I have griped about it and griped about it and griped about it, but I have never once recorded it. And I need to record this because I've been meaning to record this. I've been meaning to record this. And by the way, if you are looking at the visuals at all, which I suggest you don't do because they're a mess. There's nothing to see. Um, and yes, I know that I'm recording my voice via this camera, not via some fancy computer or some computer system or even, the Audacity or anything else like that. It's like at least get a microphone in the Audacity. Well, stuff has not been working out for me via the computer at all. So I've had to completely forego that and use just my cell phone, which I'm not happy about. Uh, I swear to God, my electronics have been getting messed with, and they have been getting messed with, obviously, and I'm not happy about that at all. I don't know whether it's the corporations just being, which is what I suspect. It's the corporations themselves just being absolute, and I'm going to swear on this, absolute and total shits, complete and total shits, and just taking stuff that we use and making it so that it doesn't work well like it did when we first got the phones, or making it so that it doesn't work at all, such as what Microsoft is doing, taking away all these nice little, should be free, should continue to be free components, or changing it so that it's just not usable anymore. Just totally wrong. Totally. Their basic video editor was not worth anything at all. And then they go and they take it away entirely. And it's like, what? Why would you do that? Microsoft, why? Why? So, yeah, so what I'm doing here is I went and I laid down an ink that was supposed to be waterproof, and it turned out not to be waterproof at all. So, there you go for the visuals. So, don't worry about the visuals, totally ignore them. That has nothing to do with what I'm going to be talking about here at all. These visuals are just, it's like doing the dishes. It's happenstance. It has nothing to do with this little podcast in the least. So, there you go. And I just showed myself on camera to begin this because I show myself on the podcasts that I do. The little, you know, brain droppings, as George Carlin called it, and I like that. It's the truth. It's brain droppings. It's opening up a Word document and just barfing all over it. And instead of doing that, I'm opening up the video camera and just talking. So there you go. But having ruined some really what I thought was perfectly good and could turn out really good looking, you know, salvageable to the point where it's actually beautiful artwork, having ruined this artwork, these darn pens have, um, and I spent, for me, very good money on these pens. I spent honestly, I ended up spending about $12 on these damn pens. $12 on 6 of them. Was not worth it. Got it on Amazon. Um, it's these Precision V5 Pilot Extra Fine Rolling Ball pens. They were supposed to be waterproof. They advertised themselves as waterproof. They advertised themselves as really good. They're not waterproof, as you can see, as I'm having to blot up here. They're very, very, very not waterproof, and they're crap. They're absolute crap, and they're ruining my artwork. So this crankiness has bled over into other things, obviously, you know. And the other things that it's bled over into is the stuff that I'm dealing with, which is the state of the whole world, and the state of the whole world leaves you to other things, trying to figure out an explanation for it, a reason for it, anything at all to explain it. And that ended up leading me into, the lie, the point blank lie of that I hear repeated constantly in spiritual circles and spiritualism and even Christianity. Christianity has the lie of, God doesn't give you more than you can handle, God, you know, interesting how it says you shall not test the Lord thy God, yet everyone says that God is testing us. If we are an extension of God, then you should not then you should not test us, his followers, his people, Yet everyone says that God is testing us. This is a test, you know. We're all going through a test. Well, here's my answer to that. In school, are you given a test where you have not been allowed to study for it? Are you given a test where you have not been even told what the subject matter is, so that you at least had the opportunity to go off on your own and at least try to find information related to this subject? From elementary school through, whatever else there is, college, high school, whatever you want to call it, middle school, doctorate degrees, you name it, VOTech, whatever type of learning institutions there are. Not once has anyone ever been given a test and not told what the test is going to be covering, what the test is going to be over, all the details of the test. In fact, kids nowadays are literally forced to study specifically for the items that are going to be on the standardized tests. Whether the schools make these standardized tests, whether the states make these standardized tests, whether the federal government makes these standardized tests, all tests are predetermined and pre-decided on. Not by the kids, granted, and not by the students, but by those who are creating the curriculum. All right, fine. But the students are told what this test is going to be over. They have conscious knowledge of what the test is going to cover. They have conscious knowledge of what the test is going to be about. And the best way that I can describe this is, case in point, you will not have someone, in college, you had to go to, a proctor. You had to go to this separate little room sometimes, and it had all these desks and everything. And they would give you the test for whatever subject you're studying in. Now, if you were to walk into that room, someone would be at the counter and they'd say, "What test are you taking?" You would need to know what test you're taking. You would need to know the subject you're taking the test in. You're not going to have someone, you're not going to have an airline pilot walk into a testing center or a testing room or what have you, walk into class and be handed a scalpel and say, "All right, you're going to be in surgery room 3. You need to take out this person's appendix. And then in the second surgery room, make sure that you scrub in. And in the second surgery room, you're going to have to make sure that you're going to be doing brain surgery. Reconnect these two. It's a very simple operation. Just reconnect this guy's aorta, whatever it is, you know." Sorry, but that was really good. That was really funny. But the aorta has nothing. I mean, technically, it does have to do with the brain, but yeah. Anyway, I think that was a good joke. Anyway, you're not going to have an airline pilot be handed a scalpel and expected to scrub up in surgery room B or 3 or whatever, and you're not going to have a surgeon walk in and be told that, "All right, you're going to be in this simulator. You're going to be having to pull out of a dive. You're going to have to make sure you're going to be flying through turbulence. You're going to, you're not going to have a surgeon trying to fly a plane when he's trained his whole life to be a surgeon. All right. You're not going to be having an airline pilot being handed a scalpel and told to go save this patient's life and don't screw it up, you know? So, and yet that is what is going on Earth here. We're not told what the test is. We're not told what we're being tested over. It's not common knowledge. You can't ask around and find out or figure out what this test is or what we're being tested over or what it involves or the people that are going to be involved in it. We're not told, you know, anything about the test at all. We're going in completely and totally blind. And it's not even a general thing where it's like, well, you're at least going to have to know how to read and write. You're at least going to have to know how to do basic, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. You're going to have to know numbers. You're going to have to know letters. You're going to have to know words. You're going to have to know spelling. You're going to have to know sentence structure and paragraph structure. You're going to have to know, basic arithmetic. You're going to have to know how to build a mathematical problem. You're going to have to figure out how to solve that mathematical problem. You're going to have to know elementary algebra. You're not even told the basics, of what you're going to have to know and learn for these lives. You're not told that consciously in waking, living life on the surface of the earth here, so that you can at least have a general idea of what this test is going to entail. Realize that. Okay? So, this idea that all of life is a test, this idea that we're being tested, you won't be given more than you can handle, well, there's death. That kind of proves that wrong. That person was given more than they could handle. They died from it. They were killed by it. They were shot. That was a lot more than that person could handle. They were shot. They became ill. They were given a lot more than they could handle. They were made sick and they died. So, and as for this whole life as a test, then why isn't everyone, without having to meditate, without having to pray, without having any knowledge of God at all whatsoever, without having any knowledge, why aren't even atheists? This should be something that even atheists should know and should be able to tell from the get-go. What am I being tested on? In what categories? In what areas? So that I can at least have a choice to accept the test and refuse the test. And even if you're going to say, I flunk, even though I said I refuse the test and I refuse to take this test, fine, give me a F, flunk me, but at least they had the knowledge of what this test was, what it was over, what it was covering, what they were going to be tested on, and they at least had the opportunity to study for it and have knowledge about it before they were tested. So, and yet that doesn't happen. And if it's true for the spiritual community, if it's true for the Christians, if it's true for the Muslims, if it's true for the Jewish, if it's true for the Buddhists, if it's true for the Hindus, if it's true for the Sikhs, if it's true for the Jainists, if it's true for the religious, then it should be, even if it's true for the Satanists, it should be true for the non-religious, for the atheists, for those who don't believe in any of this at all. If it's true even for those who are on some sort of an outside religion, those who still worship the gods of Greece, worship the gods of Rome, worship the ancient gods of, um, what's my culture? Sweden and Finland. Oh, I worship the great god Zeus. I worship the great Norse god. I'm a Norse religion. I'm a pagan. I'm a witch. I'm a witchcraft. They are the religious. So what's true for all of them should be true for the Christians, should be true for the Jewish, should be true for the Muslims, should be true for, and what's true for the religious, and don't get by the way, if you're saying no to this, then you're being prejudiced against some type of religion that I just named. The religions that you don't accept. So don't let your prejudice is brainwashing. I'm trying to open people's brains and minds to the reality that prejudice is brainwashing. All right? You're being controlled. If you're brainwashed, you're being controlled. Please understand that. And if you are against Wicca, witchcraft, Satanism, if you're against paganism, if you're against, Muslims, Jewish, Jainist, Buddhist, Hindu, Tao, if you're against any religions at all, then you are brainwashed. You are brainwashed, all right? You just are. But having said that, if you're for any religions at all, you're also, arguably, I haven't found anyone who is for all the religions and brainwashed as of thus far in history, and more than likely that's going to hold true. But if you're for all the religions along with atheism, more than likely you're not brainwashed, but just in case, that's brainwashing too, being for all this stuff. The whole point is to get out of the brainwashing entirely. But what is for the religious should be, what is true for the religious should be true for the atheist and those who completely refuse all the religions, all the idea of religion, and all the idea of, ghosts, hauntings, extraterrestrials, Bigfoot, all this stuff. So what is true for one should be true for the other, if it is true at all. When someone has an infection and you give them antibiotic, that antibiotic cures that infection, period. You don't have to believe in the power of the antibiotic for the antibiotic to cure your infection. You don't have to believe in the power of, medicine, doctors, hospitals, or any of that for it to cure and heal and make better your infection. You can sit there and say, oh, I took one pill and I'm all better, so I must not have been sick in the first place. No, that infection is probably going to come back later and far worse because you didn't complete the regimen of antibiotic, and that antibiotic actually did make you healthy. You just didn't recognize it because you don't believe in the power of antibiotics. That is what is going on nowadays in the line of unexplained phenomenon, religion, and miracles and stuff like that. People are saying, oh, that acupuncture didn't work. Oh, that meditation didn't work. No, it did. You're just not recognizing the fact that it did. Oh, that place isn't haunted. No, it is. You're just refusing to accept the fact that it is. All right. So people need to be far more open-minded. Far more. Quit being brainwashed. Either you're brainwashed against all of this stuff or you're brainwashed for it. It's brainwashing either way. But back to my main point. There's no such thing as it's a test. There's no such thing as this life is a test. That is a point blank lie. And I've just given the arguments against it. But I'll reiterate them. Nowhere in this world do I know of any type of learning institutions that do not tell you what to study and thoroughly, specifically in detail, what to study, even how to study it to make sure that you can pass the test. I don't know a single institution in the world as of thus far that doesn't tell you what to study and even how to study it before they give you the test. And I don't know a single institution that wants you taking a test, unless they are very prejudiced against you personally or your group of people, like say, they're prejudiced against black people, they're prejudiced against gay people, they're prejudiced against women. There's lots of places now in the world that are prejudiced against girls and women learning anything. So they would want the woman walking into a test and flunking it entirely because she wasn't told ahead of time what the test was. All right. What the test was and what it was covering and what it was over. So, only if you want someone to flunk would you not tell them what the test is covering. All right. Get that point. So, the only argument that would be viable for if this is a test is if they want us to flunk the test in the first place so that they could say, oh, you flunked the test or you didn't get it great in these areas. So we need to send you back and reincarnate you. All right. That's the only excuse in favor of this being a test. I know better and know that this is not a test. This life and all these lives are not a test. Everybody's life is not a test. All right. So just know that this is not a test. If it can kill you, it's not a test. If it can make you terminally ill, it is not a test. If it can make you chronically ill, it's not a test. If it can disable you in any way, it's not a test. All right. Tests should not harm you in any way, shape, or form. If it harms you, it's not a test. All right. If it harms you in any way, shape, or form, and if it kills you, by the way, I don't know any test on the face of the earth where it would kill you. All right. If it kills you, it shouldn't have been done in the first place because the whole point is to have the student go out there and practice whatever it is. Even in the military, they're not supposed to be killing their students. They're not supposed to be injuring their students. If they injure or kill their student, then they just lost a member of their team, of their military, of their Navy, of their Air Force, and they cannot send that person out on whatever it is jobs they're wanting that person to go out and do. Literally. And yes, they'll say that's, culling the herd or whatever, taking out the weakest links. Well, not really. Not really. That's just being prejudiced and not wanting that person. You could have even assigned that person if they're really that weak to desk duty. And instead of doing that, you decided to kill them off, injure them to the point where they can't even work a civilian job. Nice, good try, really great. So, but the military is, as the US is proving, not caring about the lives of their own service members, as my own PTSD riddled dad has proven. you know, he couldn't get any help and he never will. And they're still hating on anyone who's been in the armed services who needs physical help, mental help, emotional help, what have you. And by the way, for those eugenicists out there, eugenics out there, this is not getting rid of the weak genes in the herd either. What this is actually doing is, by the way, some of the weakest some of the weakest people come from the strongest gene pools. So there you go. And case in point, the blue bloods, interestingly enough, the blue bloods in the world, which the royal family is, they have a severe case that they're hiding of, I'm sorry, but retardation. I don't know what else other word to use. That is what was used back in the day. Being mentally handicapped. So there you go. There you go. They have severe case of mental handicapness, and it's because of their gene pool. So you can't sit there and claim eugenics when the very people who are in power have severe cases of being mentally handicapped, and they also have, severe cases of physical not being physically healthy, you know, period. Period. And they're not willing to open up their gene pool as they have proven with Meghan Markle. They're very much against opening up their gene pool and maybe making it a little bit healthier than it is. Um, what David Icke, whatever, what the David guy said is that they actually see these human bodies as keeping a genetic form of keeping information and keeping the information within the family and people who they want to have information. So they see human bodies as genes, as computers essentially. And I agree with that. That is why they would refuse to open up, and allow people outside of their family to marry in and have kids with them. So there you go. Anyway, that aside, this is not a test. So don't believe any any of these religious spiritualists, what have you. The second they say that life is a test, turn the channel off, click away from the video, give it a thumbs down. Even state the truth that this is not a test. This is not a test. This is not a test. Life is not a test. Period. It's not a test. Plain and as simple as that. And I've gotten myself so riled up, I need to go relax before I try to start in on my actual videos here. So, bye for now. And I'm just going to go ahead and upload this one raw, unedited, and as is. So, there you go. Bye. Oh, and yeah, I am going to talk about this more, but at the moment, I've dizzied up myself from talking. It's very hard to talk in this climate and in this air. And it's very, very airless in this room. So I'm going to let some oxygen get into here. So, but I will be talking on this subject again. I just will. Plain and as simple as that, because I can't even remember the rest of the things that I wanted to say because I'm just so angry right now. So, yeah. So, this is not over. This subject is not over. But bye for now. Bye.